Um, our first order of business would be to approve the board minutes for the September meeting. Does anybody from the board have any questions, comments, or adjustments that need to be made to the minutes? Alrighty, I will deem them approved by unanimous consent. Our first order of business will be to get our support group updates. We'll go ahead and start with the PTO. I think we have Jamila on the line. So if you would like to get us started.
Sure. So the PTO has had a great start of the year. We did something a little different this year and started with an early staff luncheon. So that was on September 29th. We had the county fair theme that went very well. And so we are going to continue with some things. We're going to be more intentional this year about providing smaller little treats to support the staff, show them that we're here. We love them, appreciate them. So hopefully that goes over well. I'm sure we'll be reporting on that throughout the year. But other than that, it's just business as usual. So nothing new.
Okay. Does anybody from the board have any comments or questions for our PTO? Nope. All right. Well, thank you so much for your update. Appreciate it.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you
Thank
for the
you.
staff luncheons. Like, I know that they very much appreciate that. So,
Awesome. Glad to hear it.
all right, we'll do our athletic boosters. I don't know, Mr. Smith, are you teeing in for Mr. Schlegel?
Good evening, everyone. I will be providing the athletic update on behalf of Director Athletics Matt Schlegel, who was out at our JV football game. So as we flip the calendar over to October, we are on the home stretch of our fall high school sports. We have some teams right now that are having a tremendous seasons. Our women's golf team is currently undefeated in all conference match play. Our women's volleyball team is now, I believe, 15-1 is their overall record. They are on the home stretch where they've got a couple weeks left of the regular season. Both of those teams do, and then they'll be obviously geared up for the postseason. Our women's tennis team is currently undefeated and ranked number 3 in the state, according to the North Carolina High School Tennis Coaches Association. And that's just a couple examples of the tremendous success our fall sports are having. From a community standpoint, if you had the opportunity to be on campus last Friday evening for homecoming, it was an absolutely incredible evening. It was jam-packed. I, always annually stand at those gates as folks were coming in, and both that game and the Pine Lake prep game 2 weeks prior to that, seeing how many elementary age families and middle school age families are coming to our games on Friday nights is tremendous. And that's just an indication of just the community aspect where there's been so many people that have been involved in, heightening our school spirit, but also most importantly, if you've been following along with some of the really negative stories that have been coming out of terrible situations that are happening at high school football games, both locally in Charlotte and across the state. There's been a ton of situations that have been very unsafe. And when we see so many of our K-12 families that are coming to our football games on Friday nights, while part of that is because of the football game experience, most of it is because they feel like this is a safe environment to be at. And that is something that as a school community, we should not take for granted. Having an elementary age child and a middle school age child myself, and knowing that they're able to have some independence at our games, which a lot of families like because they can come here and this is kind of what they're doing on Friday nights because their kids can run around and burn off a bunch of energy, and they know that they're safe. They know there's a lot of eyeballs on them and that this is a safe environment. There's a lot of people that go into establishing that environment and as a trust that our community has. So again, something that we don't take for granted, that we hope that folks continue to take advantage of all of our sporting events, not just limited to football Friday nights, throughout the rest of the fall and into the winter. Middle school sports are also on their home stretch. I know that Coach Schlegel is getting ready to have middle school playoffs start in the fall. And so thank you to everybody's continued support for athletics.
Okay, great. Thank you. I have a fall athlete as well, and it's been nice to see some students at some of the games. So love to see that, and certainly welcome anybody that might be listening to this online after the fact. We love you know, the athletes certainly appreciate any support that they get from their community, whether it be our girls volleyball team, who is doing amazing right now, boys soccer, certainly football, and all the other sports that we have going on. So we really appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to a finance update, and that would be Ms. Wilson and Mr. Morris. I don't know who wants to start off, but got it.
Good evening, everyone. So we're coming tonight for a vote on a COVID retention bonus that we wrote into the ESSER 3 grant. We had hoped to do some HVAC improvements at our campuses when we initially wrote the grant, and unfortunately, due to some procurement requirements and just red tape when it comes to federal funds, we weren't able to do that. So Finance Committee got back last year and we were like, what can we do? You know, we don't want to revert this money back to the feds. And one of the things we were allowed to do was a COVID retention bonus. So as you'll see, what we have come up with is $500 for each year of continued employment during the COVID grant period. So we're talking fiscal year 2021, 21-22, and 22-23. And what we would like to do is award $500 for each of those years. So the maximum potential bonus would be $1,500. We would prorate that for any mid-year hires that we had during those years. And then the final requirement was that you had to be employed with Lake Norman Charter as of September 30th, 2023. So as of last week, to be eligible for the payout. We want to pay this out on October the 26th, and we just need to make sure that we have board approval recorded for when we get audited. So really think this is just a great way to say thank you to our staff. These have been a tough past 3 years. They continue to be a challenge, and you know, if we're able to do this for them, I just think it'll be a great thing.
Okay, I'm going to start off with a question and then invite the board to if there are any other questions for Haley before we entertain a motion to vote. Haley, is this for just full-time employees, or are we extending it to those employees that might be part-time or, you know, other arrangements other than full-time?
So it's for full-time employees, and then we do have 2 part-time employees on our regular payroll. This
Okay.
is not for any contracted workers or substitutes.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? And is this like any kind of federally or like any kind of regulated, or this is just like Norman Charter doing?
This is going to be federal funded with federal funds, but
Okay.
we've gotten approval from the feds. We just need to make sure that we document board approval before paying out.
Will there be excess funds after?
We plan to spend it all up by the end of this year. I do not. We just closed out. So we had 3 rounds of ESSER, as you guys remember. So we just closed out 172, and I was literally doing a last minute journal entry to switch something over. Like, it is my goal to give them nothing back. So yeah.
Love to see your wish list. I'm sure it's quite long. All right. Well, if there are no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the, what do I want to call this? The COVID retention bonus. Okay.
This is Greg. So moved.
Okay. I'll take a second.
Second.
Okay. And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, and thank you to all of the staff members for their tireless and dedicated work during those time periods. I know it wasn't easy, and while, you know, you deserve the sun, moon, and stars, you know, I hope that this at least shows our appreciation. So thank you to everyone.
Yes,
for
and
that.
thank you to the board for their support for that.
Okay.
Okay, so my school report, I actually have several guest speakers, but before I go on to that, just a couple of small things. First of all, I want to piggyback on what Craig said in regards to homecoming. I think he did an exceptional job of reminding us of all of this was a great way to get together. It was a great way to do pride. There was the tailgate, and I really just want to thank on top of all the great things that Craig said. It took a lot of staff. Including people like Craig and Matt and our assistant principals, both of our middle school principals were there. There were many other staff members that were out in the tailgate lot, from cleaning garbage to helping, and many other LNC staff members. And it took everybody pulling together to make that environment be that. So just really appreciate their extra efforts. By the time homecoming was over, little known fact, Mr. Smith was on Sound to See and then came back right to homecoming, which was super, super fun. So, and all the things that happened. So, it was really a great event. So thanks to everybody who helped support that. One thing I did want to loop back to the board, as you know, we took a pretty proactive and specific line when it came to beginning of the year funding and having our students and families attend school from the beginning of the year. And kudos to Sarah and her staff and to our registrar for communicating and our registrars for working with families. It made a huge funding difference, huge, and educational difference. People really did respond to that. They really did prioritize being to school on time. And there are already folks reaching out for next year, believe it or not, asking about calendar, which, by the way, for all who's listening, we are working on the calendar, maybe have something in November, December at the latest. But it really was worth the effort. And we plan to make sure that we're communicating far in advance again, especially when we do put out that calendar. So as I said, I have 3 guest speakers. So the first one I'm going to start with, who is online with us, is Liz Jones. Her and 3 other middle school staff members all participated in a workshop put on by the Department of Public Instruction called Rethink Education, which helps to discuss learning disruptions and tailoring plans to meet specific needs. It came out of the wake of COVID, and I just want to commend her and the other staff for stepping up and taking care of that PD. But then maybe just talking a little bit about what that experience was like. So Liz, turn it over to you.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. Yeah, so this actually started in the spring semester around March, I think. And so it was Dee Thomas at the middle school, myself, Catherine Tedder, and Nicole Perella. And we felt like we were back in college again because it was all run through Canvas. We got to work together. All of the different modules were blended learning, virtual learning, and we kept saying how like cutting edge charter is because nothing was necessarily new, right? We did learn some really cool just logistic things from like a virtual learning standpoint, between learning how to better run stations virtually, playlists, but it was all blended learning. It was all just a focus on individualized instruction and putting the student in the forefront of their learning and helping just be very creative. I found it personally beneficial because I taught as an adjunct professor at UNC Charlotte this past summer for future teachers, and it was all through Canvas. And so I would actually take some of the things that we were being taught through NCDPIs, like through this Canvas course, and I like immediately implemented some of those things into, I guess, teaching future teachers. And so it was just really, I'm so thankful that we did it. At first we were like, oh my gosh, what did we sign up for? Because it was pretty intense, but they really encouraged obviously collaboration. And considering I had 2 other English teachers and I'm, English and reading, it was helpful to be able to collaborate with Perella and Tedder in that regard. But some of the other things that we found really beneficial was just the feedback that I guess they were called like your representatives, like your regional representatives through NCDPI. They did a really great job of having like weekly newsletters with hyperlinks. And again, all of us as educators were like, we are pretty phenomenal at doing this because we've been doing it for years. But yeah, I'm really, really thankful that we had the opportunity and that we said yes to it. And I just feel like it's another just way that charter teachers are amazing and we take these opportunities when they present themselves. So yeah.
Thank you, Liz. And I would agree, charter school teachers are amazing. And they do take advantage of this and sometimes even participating just to learn that we are doing some things that are best practice, and sharing with others is really good. And then the opportunity that all four of them had to collaborate was really awesome. So thanks, Liz, to you and the rest of the folks who decided to step up and take that training. The other two folks that I'm gonna have speak, if the board remembers, one of the things we talked about in retreat was a greater focus on partnership, trust, and pride. And both of the things that we're going to talk about next all help to reinforce those things. So one of them, Miss Latza, is going to talk a little bit. Do we have a microphone for Miss Latza? There we go. So Ms. Latz is going to talk a little bit. The end of elementary school has started a new program of reaching out to some folks about their kids' accomplishments. So I'll let her talk about that.
All right. Thank you, Miss Stein. These are the times I wish Miss Holland was here. So Miss Holland and I started what is called the Principal's Positive Phone Call for students. We got this idea from a Facebook group that we're on from other principals, but we allow our teachers the opportunity to nominate students for this phone call so that Miss Holland and I have an opportunity to reach parents without providing just the negative, because in our role, that's sometimes what we must do. So teachers have a Google form. They can nominate students for this Positive Principals phone call. Michelle and I both make one phone call a day. So we've had a really good turnout from our teachers. I think right now we're at 35 students and we started September 5th. So each of us call a parent a day. I believe Mr. Smith was the lucky one today to get a phone call about his son. So it's really nice because, you know, at first we bring the student down, we share with them why they're in our office. A lot of times that causes some anxiety. So we tell them right off the bat, you're not in trouble. And same thing with parents. When we call the parents, you know, the first thing we hear is, oh my gosh, what did he do? Nope, everything's good. He's not in trouble. So it's been really nice to share some positive words with the parents about their child, and nice for our teachers to be able to nominate students for that as well. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's that.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Melanie. And then lastly, we have a very big event that is going to happen next week. And that I think some of you have already seen some communication about. Hopefully y'all brought a rake and a shovel to let us borrow. But we are excited. And this is something that we built off of the 25th anniversary and the celebration. And it takes a lot of coordination. And as I'm sure Sarah will never tell you, there's a lot of things that go into having 2,200 kiddos, plus all of the volunteers, plus all of the supplies needed to pull this off. But it's also a great opportunity for our kids at multi-level to work together and to live our mission of service. So I'll let her talk a little bit about
Thanks,
that.
Shannon. So yes, Serve and Play is definitely a hybrid of all the great things that we saw in terms of community and building connections and simply having fun for the celebration with our students last year when we were celebrating our 25th. So it is a hybrid of that and also something that we used to do traditionally in the 5th grade each year, which was a leadership project. They wrapped it into their leadership lessons for the year. This is going back before Leadership in Action really got going. And this was a day of service that occurred in May that our 5th grade would partake in. So this is a combo of the two of those, except instead of just one grade level, as Shannon said, it's all of our students K through 12. So it's really, if you think about the motto, together we learn, lead, and serve, this hits together and this hits serve. And for some of our students, it also hits lead because our seniors may not understand this completely until I talk to them tomorrow at nighttime, but they are taking a very, very key role in this. And so they really will be the experts at all within our zones and within our stations across both of our campuses. So it is a big undertaking. I'm really excited about it. Yes, I need your shovels and wheelbarrows and rakes. So if anyone is listening to this or on the dais, if you could label those and drop those off at the school of your choice, I would really appreciate it. We have 300 cubic yards of mulch. And if you don't know what that really means, picture 10 full-size dump trucks. That's what we're doing, along with some pretty cool projects. I want to commend, if any of our parents are hearing this, and the parents in this room as well. I was so bowled over with the folks who signed up to sponsor a landscaping item or two. That sign up genius filled up in 90 minutes nearly. And so that generosity is incredible. I'm thinking about adding on to that tonight for rakes, shovels, and wheelbarrows, because I think what I'm learning is either people aren't keen on letting us borrow those, or they don't have those, but maybe they just would like to purchase those for the school. So that is what I may be working on the next little bit here. Any questions? Hope you guys will all be able to come out and be there.
Hey, Sarah, just as a follow-up, the serve part, we've kind of focused a little bit on that, but talk just a little bit about the play part of
Sure.
things
So the
after.
play is that hybrid. When I mentioned that of the celebration, this is a chance where we're, I think in years past, before we did the celebration last year, it would have just been serve, serve, serve. And we really saw, as I said, some very positive things coming from that. And the kids went on to talk about it. We had senior profiles, and people said, to answer the question about what was the most fun day you had as a senior or as a student, and people wrote the celebration as a senior. So there was just such positivity, not just from the students, but from our teachers and people coming up to me that day and saying, we have to do this again. Well, we probably can't throw a 25th year celebration every single year, but we wanted to be intentional to take some really great elements from that. And so that's what that second hour is. Every student K through 12 will have at least a 2-hour experience, an hour of serving, and then that second hour will be playing. That will be either down at Knights Field here on this campus, or at the elementary, it will be on the practice fields over there. We're doing some fun things. We've got some cool relay style games over here. We've got some inflatables and some bubble machines and chalk and balls over at the elementary. So I know that all of the kids, regardless of the age, are going to have a great time. And again, the cool thing about that is we've been very intentional and organized about bringing grade levels together. So as an example, we have kindergarten and 6th grade working together. In fact, that grade along with 7th grade is really almost split 50-50. And half of those kids in 6th and 7th are traveling to the elementary. They will work with kindergarten and 1st grade. They'll be doing this rock painting project, following up on a picture book that the students, middle school students, will be reading to kindergarten and 1st grade. Then they will go out and fool around with them on the inflatables and the bubbles, etc. That's 50% of 6th and 7th grade that are staying here are going to be working with our juniors. And then they'll be playing with the juniors in those relay style games. We're going to do some good old sack races and some things that you guys may remember as kids doing for field day. So it's going to be really fun. And I'm super excited that we're going to have both of the serve and the play components.
Thank you, Sarah. That's it.
Okay, thank you. There was just some great updates. I love it. I love the principal phone call thing too. What a nice way not only to recognize the students, but then also connect within the community. So thank you for that. And Sarah, I already know we're going to give tons of thank yous after the fact, but I know how hard you've been working with this, and I'm very much looking forward to Tuesday. So yes. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to old business. Up first is Ms. Chapman with our IDENA update.
Good evening, everyone. I know Ms. Benford was here at our last board meeting to share with you all that we have some new goals that we've added into IDENA. And while we're adding in new goals, focusing on belonging and how we communicate belonging, and also working on peer-to-peer relationships in terms of belonging, that other goals such as student development, admin and staff development, and best practices, those are already kind of things that we are continuing to work on. So we're not going to focus on them going forward, but really focusing on the 2 new goals of this year, and then also focusing on the goal of communication and engagement with families. We're continuing that, and I'm actually really excited to have Miss Nicole Benford working on our IDENA committee this year. I think she brings to the team a lot of great ideas. So we've really enjoyed having her work with us, and also wanted to shout out to a new student who is joining our committee. Sarah Solomon, who will be from the Diversity Club. So she will be with Geethika, and they will be attending the committee meetings and then bringing information, from the students at the high school, and then also working really closely with us this year because we are working to really implement things with student input. And as in the past, we've done a lot around our ID&A calendar. One of the things we really wanted to focus on this year was really building things out with student engagement. So it was amazing to hear their ideas and have amazing conversation at our first ID&A committee meeting, which was on September 11th. And so I know that we had talked about sharing with you all our action items. And we are still currently working on that. So that is unfolding. I think a lot goes into it when you start discussing what does it mean to belong. It sounds like such a simple question, but it's actually quite complicated. So we're really diving into that on multiple levels. So we really can create an opportunity for everybody to feel like they belong here at LNC. So what I wanted to do in terms of our September report, hold on one second here. In September, the elementary school started the year off with an update to its entrance where they are greeting people with hello in many different languages. So a lot of times, we talk about, cultural differences, but I think this is a way for them to actually experience it. And so I know the kids really enjoyed that. And I've heard in the past, sometimes, when these kids hear these words, they come home and then share it with their family members. So we thank the elementary school for doing that. Also in September, it was Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th, as we shared, on our calendar. Some things bleed into other months, so it's not specifically one month or the next. The middle school celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month with Drop Everything and Talk. They also had a day where they created a Day of the Dead Mass and other classroom activities. In the high school, they hosted a club fair with 42 clubs, which had over 350 students show up. And I know there were a lot of pictures that were posted on social media from that day. So it was really fun to see all the different clubs and all the different students that, were showing their pride and being a part of clubs that they felt really, connected to who they were as individuals. Also, the high school kicked off Hispanic Heritage Month with a teaching of the Picada to the Diversity Club and Spanish Club. This was taught by a senior student, Alex, and when I heard everybody signing up, they were at the point where they had 76 people signed up to attend. So I'm looking forward to hearing at our next meeting, which is on Monday, how many students attended, but it was very popular. And I know that they have done this in the past, and it's been a really fun activity. And also we had talked about, bringing different clubs together, about it not just being the Diversity Club putting something on, but how the Diversity Club could partner with other clubs at the school, whether it be the Spanish Club, I think they have Christian athletes, to bring different clubs together. So in terms of October, we have staff training that will be happening on October 16th. This topic is going to be around neurodiversity. And I have to give a shout out to Miss Lori Hughes, because for years, she has been talking about the importance of neurodiversity at our school. And like we've said, diversity at this school has expanded, and it's more than just race or culture or gender identity, but it also includes populations like neurodiversity. And she has really reflected to us in our committee meetings that the teachers here are also really interested in this and receiving training in this area so they can best serve the children that are in their classrooms. So I would love for Ms. Hughes to kind of share with all of us just a little bit of information about the individuals that'll be coming on October 16th to do the training for the teachers.
On the thanks, Ridgeland. On the 16th, we're going to have two speakers. One speaker is from the Autism Society, and the second speaker was actually a parent advocate that came to one of our IEP meetings, and she also has a background in school psychology.
Great, thank you very much. We also continued with our staff training on diversity and implicit bias, and this is kind of a rolling workshop where new teachers that are coming in kind of get fed into these workshops. So again, this is something that is ongoing. Our second IDENA committee meeting is going to be on October 9th, which is Monday, and we are really going to kind of be digging in deeper to looking into belonging and the action items. One of the things that we did discuss at the last meeting in terms of peer-to-peer relations and creating sense of belonging was student ambassadors. And, you know, as you all know, there have been some students who really have been active in creating workshops and taking them into the elementary school or the middle school and talking about compassion and empathy. And we're continuing to kind of expand that out to other students so they can be student ambassadors and really have that peer-to-peer relationship with their fellow students. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chapman. Now we're going to move on to our Thrive presentation. Mr. Eastwood.
Thank you so much. First, I want to thank Amy specifically for leading the meeting for me. I unfortunately missed our first meeting, which is a bummer because we have such a great group of passionate individuals, educators, students, parents. So I hate that I missed it, but I think we're on track for a great year. So we had our first meeting, 9/21, and we reviewed some successes for last year. I felt like that would be a good way to kind of welcome new members to the board and kind of recap, you know, where we had been. Looked at our goals for this year, and then true to fashion, it sounded like people just started brainstorming things that we could kind of jump on and support. So that was pretty awesome. So just example of that is kind of looking at, you know, we're talking about the career speaker series last year is looking at how do we maybe look at service in the same way, utilizing Naviance, utilizing some of the great things that our students do here. We have a lot of student-led not-for-profits, so making sure that our community are aware of that. And then looking at student interests at the elementary school and middle school. So how do we kind of support that growth and exploration at those levels? So this year, one of the things that we're going to do is, because we do have two goals, we're going to look at developing our subcommittees to focus one on each goal. I think that will kind of help and highlight some vertical alignment across our school community. So we'll have members from all of our communities focused on each goal, so we can kind of think about not specifically how we do things at each school, but then how do they blend to the next level? So how our students experience our entire community as they go through? So pretty excited about that. And just as a recap, our goals, the first one is utilizing tools and surveys to look at how we help our students explore their interests. And then the second thing is looking at the recognition side of things. So how are we maintaining supportive culture and exploring our values within our student bodies, which is something that we heard earlier this evening is what the elementary school is doing. We've heard in the past middle school. So again, I'm just very excited about how our school buildings and our admin and our teachers are already pushing the boundaries. So it's kind of makes our job a little bit easier. We don't really have to do much because y'all are running with it. So it's pretty nice. And then one highlight I wanted to touch on, and I see Mr. Smith's going to have my back here in a second, is we have the high school career speaker series coming up this month, the 17th to the 27th. And so two quick things that I know is that our students have utilized some career interest surveys in Naviance, and as well as we're having in-person and virtual options for our speakers. So a little bit more access and opportunity for our students.
And to the career interest survey. So this last Thursday, so a week ago today, our students in nighttime had the opportunity to get into Naviance and take a career interest survey, which is very short, 5-10 minutes. I happened to be in a nighttime because I was covering one of our Spanish teachers so they could participate in the bachata. That's the service leadership. I'll volunteer to cover the class so someone else can go participate and dance with our students. But it was really cool because a lot of the students in there, we had just returned from Sound to Sea together to the 9th grade nighttime. And so I got to literally look over their shoulders and watch them take this career interest survey, and they immediately get feedback of their top 4 areas, and the areas aren't so specific, it's more broad. And I got to literally see students having conversations about the results that they got, and they were, in little small pods, and they were talking about it. Last checked, and this is kind of a fluid data tracking, but we were just under 600 of students who have completed that. So students are still able to complete it. We're probably going to send another communication after we kind of get through the next couple of weeks of just the intense events that we have going on. But our goal with that, aligned with what Mr. Funches has already done with career speakers, but with the Thrive Committee, is to utilize that data and then be intentional of scheduling some opportunities in the spring where we're telling students, you have demonstrated an interest in this field because of your own survey data. So instead of a passive approach, a more intentional approach, we are assigning you to go hear this speaker, maybe in a larger group setting or multiple speakers in a specific area, so that we can be a little bit more intentional, because our students do a fantastic job when they're told this is what we need you to do. Sometimes students are a little bit more reluctant if it's a passive, like, hey, if you're interested, sign up. So that will allow us to take a little bit more of an intentional approach.
Thank you so much.
All righty.
I think I got one more slide.
Oh,
There we go.
sorry. Oh,
Yeah, and then I just wanted to give a quick shout out,
Mhm.
already mentioned, but the high school club fair happened, 42 clubs, 350 plus students attending. And the things that I really wanted to highlight is, again, this is an instance of the schools themselves kind of growing and pushing the bounds. I think this is one of the things that we talked about last year, and we did have a club fair, and we saw some improvements this year and a lot more engagement. So we just see continued growth and accessibility within our school buildings, which is awesome. And one thing to highlight is that this whole event, as I understand, was planned by 2 students, which is awesome. So Frida and Jack, I mean, kudos for that. That's amazing. Another opportunity of leadership within our school. So thank you.
all righty. I think that concludes our old business, and there isn't any other new business that we need for tonight. So if nobody has anything else that they would like to bring to the table, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 7:38.